Praise God. Okay, let's bow our heads for the opening prayer. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Father, we thank you. We give you praise. We exalt you. We adore you. We thank you for this opportunity to gather together like this and to learn. Lord, we ask that even as we begin, you open the eyes of our understanding, that this program will answer the questions of our hearts in Jesus' name. And that by the end of this program, we will have clarity on our next steps in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Can we say praise God? Yes, no?
Yeah, we can.
It's a Christian garden. Praise God, everybody.
Yeah.
Do we know why we're here? You Fantastic. Yes, you followed the cheese, and cheese is right here, ready for everybody. My name is Christiana Ajayi, to be precise, and I will be working together with everybody here to, bring this event to life. Why I said I'm working with everybody is because I need everybody's attention. When we need to clap for our speakers, let us ginger, please. Can we do that? Thank you. With me here is delectable.
If I did not know Christy very well, I would say she's intentionally out here to make me blush. But dark people don't blush, so I can go ahead. My name is Godwin Henry, and it's my pleasure to do this with Christy, yes, who is a superstar. And yes, so okay, so without further ado, we'll go ahead with our introductions. And first, we'll be introducing the most important people in the room. Do you want to know who they are?
Yes, please. Who are they? I'm interested.
Nobody is answering except Chrissy. Do you want to know who they are? Yes. Okay. So the most important people in the house is you, right?
Woo! Celebrate yourselves, please. It's not easy to make it here while others are sleeping or are in traffic at home.
Mm-hmm. So I'll need you in the next 2 minutes to just go around, meet someone you've never met, right? Get their name, what they do, you don't know.
I know who you came with, though. Don't follow who you came with.
No follow who you know. You don't know where your next 7 figure is coming from.
Right, and this is a networking event as well. You don't know who you are going to meet that will give you your next big job. So please, let's meet each other within 2 minutes, very briefly. We'll ask questions, though.
Mm-hmm.
Should I meet? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, man.
My name is Christiana. Please, I'm looking for work.
Yeah, I need you, Christiana.
Hi.
My name is Christiana. My name is Midweek. Church.
In church?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
How far is it?
Do you have sound? Do you have sound?
I'm back like I never left.
Yep.
Thank you. Please, how many people here met 10 people?
No, I think the right question is who left their seats?
Right.
Because people were just on hello.
Why?
You left your seat. How many people did you meet? 3?
What are their names?
Can we see Israel, Oyime, and Destiny? Okay.
Thank you. Because it's important that we meet people so that next job, next contract, next friend that will share the next best information with you. might be your neighbor that is 2 seats away that you do not stand up to go and meet.
I don't meet people.
There's a new word, ambivert. I'm not inside, I'm not outside.
You're just in the middle. Okay. English is hard nowadays. So if Christy say
ambivert. AM. Follow after me.
Okay.
AM. Ambivert.
VI.
It's not
Okay. But the important thing, be a money maker. Follow the cheese.
Follow Uno Road.
Exactly. Talking about following the cheese, or as the team says, moving with the cheese. When I saw the everywhere in the hall,
Did you check outside? Maybe you didn't follow the right. Again, follow Uno Road, because around this side, God bless you.
A man of the spirit. Well, so must move with this cheese today.
When I'm going, just let's go together.
Okay. Like they say, follow Uno Road. Anywhere Christy is going, I'll go with her. And interestingly, Christy is an HR person, right? So who knows?
You have to do that to me.
That job that I'm looking for. You know the Nigerian dream, right? Who knows what the Nigerian dream is? If you know, raise your hand. What the Nigerian dream is? Anybody that gets it right gets something from me. Yes, okay. Wait, if you know it, raise your hand. One. Only one person. Okay.
They know they're just humble.
So I'll give you the mic, your name, what you do in case your next client is here, and you tell us what the Nigerian dream is.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ayodele Ashiata Kadiri. I'm a lawyer, advise on banking and financing and corporate acquisition. Try to raise money. I'm the person you should be talking to. I think the Nigerian dream is to live and spend in Naira but earn in dollars.
Who agree with her? Who agrees with her? You don't agree? You are not, and Christy has told you we are doing this together. Who agrees with Ayodele? Ayodele, that the Nigerian dream is to spend in Naira but earn in dollars. Do we agree? Well, in my own book, that is the Nigerian dream. I want to earn like 15, earn like $30 in some serious hard currency, and then I'm living in Nigeria here, spending in Naira. Who would not like that?
Special people are coming in. No, I don't know who is catching this flow. Are you seeing it with me? Please, let's give a round of applause for the people coming in. Our special guests. Welcome, Ma. Welcome, sir. Welcome. That clap is not encouraging even me. Thank you. Welcome. Yes.
So it seems, Chrissy, I'm not following you again. You get who I go follow now.
Who are you following?
The people with no road.
Let's go together.
So we are going to change direction. Okay.
I'm with you.
Changing direction is allowed. Okay. So before we go in, right, just a brief context. Some months ago, on one of our groups in church, we were having a conversation, right? We just wake up one morning and we heard Facebook. No, they are not facing book again. They are Meta. Is it Meta 3?
No.
Which one?
Meta.
Yes. Change.
That's what it means.
Whatever it means, Meta is their new name. They've sacked some people. About 10,000. Be how many?
In thousands.
In thousands. They did not even allow that one to code. They hit us again. Apple. Almighty Apple. They pursue people home too. We no want again. That one self did not rest. Let's not even go to Uncle Mox. Do we know Uncle Mox? You know Uncle Mox?
We do.
You know, Uncle Mox can wake up today and feel like, my right hand is paining me. 10 of you, go home. Anyways, so with that conversation, we just began to look at, with the way they are chasing people everywhere, what is going on? Right? And it was a huge concern for us, and we began to look that if this is happening across the world, is it also happening in Nigeria? Are they chasing people? And with what they are saying, that the world is now a global village, which means that if you think that where you are safe, you better think again.
Someone
No,
come from somewhere to uproot you.
exactly. Some people can become expatriates.
Right.
Or me, although me, I want to live the Nigerian dream, earn $50,000 monthly, no, pounds monthly,
It's part of the global villageness.
and live in where has the lowest expense in Nigeria? I said Nigeria, not Lagos. So earn £50,000 and live in Ondo.
No light, oh.
No light. Okay, I'll manage Abuja. Stay in Abuja, right? And be spending in Naira. Anyways, so that was how we got to this point, and I'll hand over to Christy to give us. And be what? It's people that go to school that know that word. So she'll take us on some heavy things. Over to you, Christy.
Thank you, Godwin. Welcome, our speakers. Hello, everyone. I'm not taking us through heavy things, so I just wanted to, when I heard the theme, Moving with the Cheese, and then I saw one video. Godwin, do you remember that video? The video they posted on the group, where they were asking people about moving with the cheese, and I saw some things, I heard some things, right? So it just made me, come up with something that I just thought to share with us, like a little background onto what moving with the cheese actually means, right? And here I'm just saying here that moving with the cheese is a phrase that comes from a book, Dr. Spencer Johnson, where he's talking about how mice are able to quickly adapt to their changing situations, right? And with the recent occurrences like Godwin mentioned, the employment world today is a lot of things are moving fast. If you think you are holding your ground last 2 years, you'll be shocked at what has happened in the past 6 months. So basically what we'll be doing today is understanding that change is inevitable, but how do we stay grounded even in the change that is occurring around the world, right? And our 3 big speakers will be taking us through these processes today. I hope we have fun together.
It's this place that you clap, you make.
Encourage me.
Encourage. It's not easy, unless you don't want to move with this cheese. So, Chrissy, talking about moving with the cheese, like I said, the first time I saw it, what came to mind? I was thinking that when I step in here, I'll see cheese everywhere, right?
Cheese is everywhere. Again, cheese is everywhere.
You understand what I mean? Like, I'll see cheese, they'll give me cheese. So I would like to hear from a number of people. When you heard moving with the cheese, the first thing that came to mind. I'm bringing my mic. Let me move. Okay, I'm hearing something here.
Like cheese ball.
Cheese ball. Yeah, I like you. You are honest. Who else? When you heard moving with the cheese, let me bring you.
That is cool.
Jerry, Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry, interesting. Okay, any other person? One
here.
more, one in front.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay, the first thing that came to my mind was moving with, I thought maybe probably like he said, there would be cheese. Then illustrations with cheese will be given on the day. So that was what came to my mind. Thank you.
Okay, we have last person.
Because cheese is a fruit of the something that because cheese is making someone that food or another person how to take place.
Okay, so again, food related. So, well, we are all thinking alike.
Me, I'm not thinking in your direction.
Okay, since you are not thinking in my direction, I'll face people that are thinking in my direction. Who knows? Anyways, without wasting much time, we'll bring up our first speaker. and I'm going to be reading our speaker's profile. I'm sure you know what I'll bring up first.
Please don't forget the deal that we had before they came in. Oh. Please, don't embarrass me outside. Thank you.
Okay, so our first speaker is someone wonderful. I'll read her profile. Abosede is a passionate human resource professional with multinational experience in the human resources field, having studied biochemistry University of Lagos and an MBA from the prestigious Lagos Business School. Abosede is an ingenious HR personnel who is great at developing and managing multi-level relationships. Her work experience with 3TF, an indigenous payroll services provider, then Promasidon Limited, where she was responsible for different aspects of HR within the business as a generalist. From there, Abosede moved to Beiersdorf Nivier, I hope I'm correct, the multinational skincare giant where she was responsible for the HR function of the factory. Abosede joined UAC, Nigeria PLC, in April 2020, where she led the Human Resource Department at Portland Paints and Products PLC, and after the merger of Portland with Chemical and Allied Products, she moved to the corporate head office as Senior Vice President HR. Thereafter, she rejoined a subsidiary, UAC Foods Limited, as the General Manager HR. Abosede holds a professional in Human Resource Qualification from Human Resource Certification Institute, professional in Human Resource International from the Society of Human Resource Management Institute, and a certificate in organizational leadership from Harvard Business School online. Harvard is Harvard. Yes, ask our politicians. Abosede hopes to leave a mark and influence the HR space landscape one business at a time. So with that, and we are in church with Jesus' joy. Let's welcome Abosede.
Thank you very much. This never gets old. Thank you for reading my profile beautifully. And thank you again to my host church, Yaba Center, and to TCN Ikeja for again bringing me out of my shell. I'll stop there. Okay, so before we start, I just want to ask, did anybody read the book? Okay, I saw your hand go up first. So I have something for you. You have to catch it. Send it to her. Okay, so for everybody else, you should have read the book. At least just glance through. But I have a couple of things I will talk about from the book. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you again. We spoke like 3 weeks ago. Okay, so please go ahead with the presentation. I have a lot of animation, so you need to scroll up fast. Next slide, if you would please. Yes. So my slides are super beautiful. So thank you to, I know this is recorded, so she'll probably hear. Thank you, Jumoke, for working on the slides after I put together all the ideas. So for those of you who want cheese, she's like, it's a presentation on cheese, so why not fill it up with rats and cheese everywhere? So enjoy. So I'll go briefly through a brief introduction of myself, very brief, and the highlights on who moved the cheese. I do not have a timer, but I know I have 15 minutes, so I will try to conclude in that time. Share a little about my personal experience and the summary. Next slide, please. So click until you get to the end of the slide. There's a lot. So you already heard my profile. I studied biochemistry, then I went ahead to do an MBA because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So if you don't know what you want to do, it's okay. You figure it out sometimes along the way. We didn't all wake up like this, and this is why this is my introduction. So when I was younger, I assumed that successful people don't use the toilet. I kid you not, genuinely. Then there was this older woman in church. I really admired her. She was very pretty. They always talked about how she did well in school. And one day I literally asked her that, Ma, do you like go to the toilet to do number 2? And she laughed and she's like, no. One day you're going to grow up and be super successful and understand that we're all people trying to figure it out. So this right here is my slide when I'm not working and doing many different things. I have 2 cats whom I love very much. I like to travel, and then I like to Netflix and chill. And why is this important for moving the cheese? Sometimes you get caught up in doing everything else. You're just walking and going to church. You're not looking outside. You're not traveling. You're not reading a book. You're not joining any professional organization. Sometimes it's in those moments that you realize the cheese is moving or has moved, and then you can quickly catch up. There's so many things I bring to my organization now that I learned from my numerous trips or working in a multinational across borders with other people. So whilst it's good to pray and read your Bible and go to work Monday to Friday, you need to do other things. Because sometimes you would not know that the cheese has left you if you are staying in your cocoon. If you take nothing else away. This is your introduction slide. Okay, next couple of slides, please. So, who moved the cheese? I will just give you my brief introduction for those of you who didn't read the book. The major things I took out from the book. So, next slide, please. I really wish I had a clicker. Next. Okay, so if you didn't read the book starts by saying there are mice and then there are little men, and they all roam around the maze every day. And for me, I think the major thing I took out of that is everybody does something. At least in Nigeria, most people, I feel like 90% of us hustle or do something. The average Nigerian is not lazy, so you're doing something. But beyond doing something, what extra are you bringing? So the little men, the mice, they all go out. And I like this passage. We're in church, so permit me. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting. So he actually went hunting. He didn't stay at home waiting for food. He actually went to hunt. But he didn't roast it. Diligence is a man's precious possession. So you're interested in tech, you're interested in consulting, you've learned UI, UX, you've learned app design, you've learned all of these things. What else are you bringing to the table? The same way you are learning these things, other people have learned it as well. As we're in Nigeria, when there's a new flow, everybody goes into it. When it was web design, everybody was doing web design. What other extra are you bringing to the table? Next, they did the same thing every day until something changed in their environment. And I like this passage too. It says, which is why in our church at least, we pray that God will open the eyes of our understanding. Because sometimes you keep doing the same thing. It's bringing in money now. You've been in the same career path. And then things just change from under you. For example, even from when I was younger, we go to the bank and I hear of people who are tellers. Apologies to people who were in that line of work. But I literally just feel like you spend 5 years counting money, and as soon as there's a machine that can count the money, you're out of work. There's nothing else you're learning. Some of those things are easier to see, but it's not always the case. So what else would you add to it? And then finally, change comes to everybody. Some people are just better prepared to handle it. Change comes in every way. If you're a member of TCN, we didn't always have all the centers we had. We grew into it because we saw the change, recognized the change. And one thing I really liked about our transition was, imagine if we didn't go to watching screens before COVID hit. Imagine how devastated we would have been. But somehow it just felt like going from the eyes of understanding being opened. Pastor traveled. Remember I mentioned traveling. And he realized that in some church, the people just watch screens and they are fine. And we started to watch screens and we all got used to it. And in our center, Pastor doesn't even visit us, but we're okay. We watch screens the whole time. But yes, change will always come, so you need to prepare yourself. And somehow, people who handle change better are people who tell themselves, I got this, I can. Okay, so those are my insights from the book. If you didn't read it, still just please find some time to just go through it. It's a really short book. Next couple of slides. So what is moving the cheese now, which is the purpose for our conversation today? There's technology. We talked about ChatGPT just before coming here. E-commerce, there's so many things. And I separated social media from technology because, for example, people talk about how you want to change your career path. A few years ago, being a social media influencer was not a thing. But now it is a thing, a big thing. In fact, some of them earn so much money, I wonder why I work 9 to 5 and work so hard. Why not just go influence something? But yeah, that's about the cheese moving. So you need to stay alert to understand how the cheese is moving. COVID example, another example of something that changed the way we work. For my organization at the time, we were big on international travel. You want to do a training, you pack 5 people on a plane, the budget is huge. Thanks to COVID now, some of you will join online, some of you will join. Things have changed. So imagine a travel agent that was attached to that organization, and that was your one organization, and all you do is send people for training. COVID has effectively reduced your income. So global trends, there's migration, there's jobs, job migration. These days, people don't want to be full-time employees. They just want to do gigs. They want to be temporary employees. Then people like us as HR, you now have to find out what do you want to do, how do you retain this person, how do you structure their contract such that even though they work in gig economy, they're not sharing your private information across board. It just gets really complicated, but the cheese is moving any which way you want it. So how do you ensure that you're on top of it? You will never have all the answers. You research, you meet together with friends, you discuss, so you understand how the next steps may be. And I left the last space blank. What do you think is moving the cheese in your economy, in your personal economy? All of us are different. So even if we work in the same space, there's different things affecting us. Do you know the next trajectory for yourself, for your organization, for your family? There's many things moving the cheese. So you need to figure out in what direction you want to move with the cheese. Okay. Next slide. Change begins at the end of your comfort zone. Change is never easy. So if you're going to follow the cheese, you have to be ready for massive discomfort. It's never easy when the change comes, but you always have to ensure that at every point in time, you're willing to move when it's time to change. Next slide, please. I'll spend a little more time here talking about my personal experience. So I started off with an entrepreneur mom, which invariably means I didn't want to be an entrepreneur because I worked throughout all my holidays and it was just very boring. So I told myself, you know what? We die by 9 to 5. I'm never going to be an entrepreneur. I want to be able to work and then weekends are for myself. But a few years down the line, I realized that being an entrepreneur is not such a bad thing. But the major thing here is that sometimes your experiences have shaped you. What you've been through is responsible for your fears, for your aspirations. Sometimes you need to get to the root of why you are the way you are. So after my MBA, spending all that money during a course, I got many offers. But I was waiting for a job in human resources because at the time, I assumed all you just do is chat with people. I didn't think of all these other things that's like hiring and firing. Firing people is like the most difficult thing to do because some of these people are your friends and you've typed their letter. And you're like, hi, my guy. Yeah. That's very difficult. But at the time, I was like, any career path that keeps me, that just helps me interact with people. I used to think I was a people person, but yeah. So having an entrepreneur mom and the lack of stability sometimes that comes with entrepreneurship. Sometimes there's work, sometimes there's no work. I was just like, I'm never going to do this again. Then I studied biochemistry, and as you've heard, I'm now in human resources. So again, transitioning sometimes it comes to you by mistake. Sometimes you go out and actively look for it. But for some of you that want to transition within careers, it's usually easier to start from where you are. So I have some people who say, I'm in sales, I want to move to HR, or I'm in marketing, I want to move to finance. It's typically easier to start in the organization that you are, because hopefully they will give you soft landing if you don't like it and if it doesn't work out. So it's typically better. Start from where you are and you move from there. Then my first work experience, this was Cheese One. In that job, basically, it was about maintaining processes and day-to-day activities. So who is moving the paper from here to there? Paper shuffling was slightly ministry-like, but that was what we needed at that point in time. Fast forward a couple of years, I moved to another role where it was more about how things were done. So even if you're a fantastic manager and your team feels like you bully them or you don't speak nicely to them or you don't smile, then you'd be out of work very quickly. So Don't think of moving cheese as a big thing that you have to, quit your job and become a tech bro, or just moving across industries. Even in your full-time job, the cheese is constantly moving. You need to follow the money trail. How does your organization make money? If you're selling gala, how do they make the gala? If you're working in a bank, how does your bank make money? You can't just say, I'm at the front desk, I'm a receptionist, then you don't know anything else about your organization. And I use receptionist because most people are like, that's like the lowest. No. I have cleaners in my organization who have a very good idea of how our processes works. So if there's an opening, who do you think I'm going to pick first? An outsider who knows nothing about my process, or someone on the inside who is showing initiative? So a lot of the time, Christians feel like you're doing God a favor by working and then he should just automatically bless you. No. You have to go the extra mile. There's no one in the Bible that God blessed that was not excellent. And if you're on Instagram and you see some of the videos, I always talk about Joseph because the guy shocks me every time. If I got demoted from Potiphar's house to a jail, I'm going to be a nasty prisoner. Like, the beef would be. But he went to jail and excelled. Do you know what it means to excel amongst prisoners? He excelled. So in your place of work, whatever, no matter how bad you think your job is, you need to excel at it. You need to be the best version of yourself. That way, sometimes, even when you don't know when the cheese is moving, a boss or a colleague will tell you, this is the new direction, key into it, do this next thing. If I just remembered one experience. In this first job where I said it was about maintaining day-to-day processes, I didn't know the cheese was moving because I was just there doing my work. And then a boss said to me, there's this new project coming up. You need to be on it. It's going to be a little demanding, but you should do it. And that was my first international trip with my office. And people were surprised because it was a marketing project, but he was like, I know you can do this thing. Go ahead and do it. And I was like the only junior staff who went for that project in South Africa. The cheese was moving. I didn't see it moving. I didn't get any spiritual inspiration. It was someone who had seen my work who put me forward. So sometimes in the workplace, in the workspace, in life generally, you need mentors. You need people who will open the door for you in places where you do not understand or don't even know that the cheese is moving. And finally, in my work experience 3, it was a combination of 1 or 2. And my notes here says, basically, I like this UI UX because I was in an interview and the guy was just going on, so I've learned UI. I'm like, what's UI UX? What is this? But you've learned that so you can code, so you can develop an app. Can you sell it? What else can you add to that thing? You have to be extra. You can't be ordinary. You are not created to be ordinary. So I know that, yes, it sounds very cliche, but the extra sometimes it's very little things. It's not the big things. It's the very little things. So in your space, find a way to be extra. And then next slide, quickly. I think I've exhausted my 15 minutes. So from my personal experience, I've realized that every time I've been bold enough to make the leap, God has rewarded it with lots of faithfulness, like lots of success. Like I mentioned in the last session we had, I left a multinational to a local company, and it felt like madness. But somehow, in taking the leap, I have grown in the past 2 years more than I would have if I'd stayed in a multinational. So sometimes, it's in those big jumps. So you want to transition. You've seen that the cheese is moving from one area to the other. Sometimes you just need to put it all down and take that leap. Take that leap intelligently. Take that leap with data. Take the leap with information. Okay. Next slide, which is my summary. So from the book again, the first thing that they mentioned that differentiated the mice from the men. The mice, every day they got to the cave with the cheese. They hung their shoes around their necks while they ate. The little humans hung up their shoes and started wearing slippers. Don't get lazy. That you're successful today doesn't mean you'll be successful tomorrow. Because the cheese is moving, keep your shoes on. Don't even hang it around your neck. Keep your running shoes on. How do you keep it on? You're reading books, you're joining organizations, institutions that have to do with what you want to learn. You are staying in touch with it all. Second, will you join Sniff and Scurry to check your surroundings, or will you assume the cheese will always be there? I know there's some people that they only watch news. I'm not saying go to that extreme, but there's a time that the cheese moves, and sometimes just being in tune with what is happening around you helps. Okay, and finally, change will happen. When it happens, will you adapt or will you complain? Complaining just makes it worse. Adapting fast, maybe you get one day, take ice cream, wallow in self-pity, but immediately after, shake yourself up and get on the move. Because with or without you, the cheese will move and keep moving. So the earlier you jump on the train, the faster it would be for you. Okay, my last slide. Business opportunities are like buses. Basically, the train is always moving. There will be another one. Maybe you've missed this wave. The next one is coming. What are you going to do about it? What difference do you plan to do in your life? What else do you want to do right now to ensure that when the next bus comes, you're 100% prepared for it and you can jump on? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ma. I hope we are having questions because my notes is full. I don't know about you. Please, let's take down our questions because we're going to be asking our speakers after now. All right, very quickly, I'll be introducing our next speaker. All right, his name is Sorumfe Uzoma. Sorumfe Uzoma is a technology leader with years of experience spanning business development, strategy, innovation, and engineering, working on projects covering multiple sectors across Africa. This experience has seen him lead teams across an array of companies to create and execute strategies aimed at driving sustainable growth and creating business impact. Sorumfe is passionate about innovation and its capacity to transform people, businesses, and society. With Jesus, joy, and plenty applause, let us welcome Sorumfe.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so I have a quick 15 minutes. Thank you so much for that presentation. I don't have a presentation, but I've made notes about what I want to talk about. I don't know if I can go through them in 15 minutes, but wherever I stop, I think we'll be fine. Thank you so much for coming out on a Saturday. I know that it's not easy for everybody too. So I'll start with a quick story, and I hope I can summarize it in 3 minutes. In 2008, I was serving, and this was the dawn of social media at the time. And I had time on my hands. I spent days learning about social media, Twitter, Flickr, and some that you don't know about, Plurp. A lot of them died, Stumble Upon, Dig. There were many of them back then. At this time, there were very few people talking about social media from an enterprise perspective. So people were just playing on them. If you remember the days of High Five, for those who remember High Five and things like that. Right? And then I got talking to a friend who worked in the corporate comms department of one of the biggest banks in Nigeria. And I said, you guys are doing this thing wrong. You're going to be destroyed you're going to be destroyed eventually. You need to change your strategy. And obviously, because nobody was talking about it, the cheese had moved and nobody realized. They asked me to come and do a presentation to the GM for communications for the bank. That's the most senior person in the bank. Now, remember that I had just finished serving. So the only reason I had that opportunity was because there was nobody in the marketing industry who understood it. I did the presentation. I earned 7 figures on that contract right out of NYSC. And then they said to me, they tried to hire me, obviously. They tried to be smart. Instead of paying you this big money, let's hire you and be paying you monthly salary. So I turned it down. They offered me like twice or thrice. I turned it down. And then they wanted to renew my contract. So they wanted to give me the contract again for probably more money. And I turned it down. The reason I turned it down was because I understood very quickly that even though they had paid me a lot of money for the first contract, they had a marketing agency on retainer. The only reason that I had the opportunity to help them build so I built their social media strategy for them. I registered them for a long time. I was the administrator on all their social media accounts. Facebook, everything. So the only reason I had that opportunity was because the big marketing agencies at the time were not yet thinking about social media. They didn't see that the cheese had moved. However, I also knew that the cheese would move again. So it would move again because once they turn around and see the market, they have the people, the resources, the relationships to go in and take it. So while some of my friends who saw what I did decided to go and open up companies and rent offices in Lekki Phase 1 and start calling themselves CEO founder, I quietly exited the space and went into consulting. Very quietly. And exactly what I predicted happened. So I've told you a story to tell you 2 times that cheese moved. One time, it made me money. The other time, it helped me not to lose money. Now, what the previous speaker said, which is extremely important, is the cheese is always moving. Now, both in my 15-minute talk, which I am very certain I will not finish everything I have to say, and in the panel, I'm not really going to focus, which is some of the things that they wanted me to talk about, but I don't think that that's really the major thing. It sounds obvious that the cheese moves. And if I say, oh, do we all think that things change, trends come? Everybody here is going to agree. But I can prove to you in 5 minutes or in 2 minutes or in 1 minute that almost maybe less than 1 out of 100 people in this room now genuinely believes that cheese moves. And I can prove it to you now. Very simple test I give people. So what's the major thing going on in Nigeria now? We had elections recently, right? So we're going to have a new government at the end of May. Whatever your prayer is, somehow, we shall have a new government. We know that everybody has said that there are 2 things I'll ask you. First, we know that currently now the disparity between the official exchange rates and the black market exchange rates is almost double. We all know that, right? We also know that that is not sustainable. So the next government has said, whichever party you believe in, all of them have said that that rate has to be unified. We all know that, right? Everybody in this room is aware of this information, right? That's number 1. You have also heard that the fuel subsidy that we have been running for 20 or 30 years is also not sustainable. Has everybody heard? Put up your hands if you have heard. Good. How many of you in this room now, as you are sitting here now, have a very clear plan as to what you are going to do for this cheese that we all said, we all know is about to move, that nobody is even hiding, that does not require prophecy, that does not require revelation, that does not require Bible reading? Everybody knows it. How many people in this room right now have a very clear plan? So for instance, if they unify the exchange rates and you do anything that has to do with foreign exchange, you're a baker, you're an interior decorator, anything that has to do with buying something that is purchased outside the country, your business is going to be impacted one way or the other. How many people in this room have a clear plan based on what I just said now? So nobody in this room believes that cheese moves. We technically, so any smart person can tell you a plan off of their head. But I'm saying that you actually sat down, thought about it, wrote down certain things about what you believe is about to happen, wrote down scenario A, scenario B, and developed a plan as to what you would do under each of those circumstances. So everybody in general says cheese moves, things change, get ready for change, be adaptable. We all know the quips. But when we look into our personal lives and our businesses, we actually don't do anything. And that's so my focus today is not to talk about the skills you should get or any of that, right? My focus today is to convince you to be very practical about the awareness that cheese actually moves, which we all assume we know, but we don't, right? Are we together? Please, how many minutes do I still have? 7. And I've not even started. Okay. So I was meant to talk about this from the perspective of technology, so I'll share a few things because I need to go through them quickly. I think they will be useful. So there are sound bites. I don't know if it's recorded. If you're writing, it will help you. Technology creates new market opportunities, right? I shared my social media example, right? At the time, 5 years before I did what I did, there was no social media industry or anything like that. Being able to go into that space allowed me to make a lot of money for the time period that it was available to me, right? So every time you hear of a technology shift, fear is not the right response. That's the first thing I would say. Fear is not the right response. I would go as far as saying that even if you lose your job because things have changed, it's fine. It's painful, but it's fine. Because, we're in church. As long as the earth remains, seed time, which is working, and harvest, which is collecting salary or receiving payment from your customers, will remain. So as long as human commerce remains, there will always be a demand for skill and value. And as long as you can find a way to provide skill and value, you will always find a way to earn money. So one of the things that I have at the end of my statement here, but I don't want to forget it, is I don't want you to bother yourself about what skills should I learn. You would need to learn skills, but that's not what you should bother yourself about. What I want you to learn today, or be aware of today, is how to learn what to learn, and how to learn how to learn. Right? So, under any given condition, what should I learn? And how should I learn it? That's really, that skill set is the most important skill set, in my opinion, in the world. So when you discover that cheese has moved, what should you learn? Because I can come here today and I say, learn how to code, learn how to use computers, something can happen in the next 3 months that everything I said today becomes useless. Do you understand what I mean? But if things change in 3 months and you have learned what to learn, you will simply look at the world that day and say, what do I need to learn to remain relevant? And I always tell people, you shut down your life for 3 months to 6 months and you will learn that skill. If you apply yourself for 3 months to 6 months to learn any skill and you do it in a disciplined, consistent way, you will be in the upper 20% of everybody who possesses that skill. Globally, in my opinion. Any skill, pick anything, financial, modeling, photography. If you deliberately go at it, because nobody does that. Nobody really does that. Now, let me go back to my notes. How many minutes do I have? 4. The 4 where 1 is bent, so it's not really like 4 like that. Okay. Secondly, technology makes certain skills quickly redundant. So what was amazing yesterday is not amazing today. We're talking about ChatGPT. If you have not used it, but I work for Microsoft and I'm not doing marketing. But not that a time is coming, a time has come where I can say to my PowerPoint, I want a presentation on how to grow the Covenant Nation to 100,000 members. Give me the preferred locations, give me the number of workers you should have, give me the department, and tell me how much I should pay everybody as a salary. I want a 50-page presentation. And your computer would run and give you a 50-page presentation. You may need to edit that presentation, but it would give you a 50-page presentation that if you show Pastor and you don't tell him that what you did to present it, he will clap for you. You understand what I mean? So, a lot of things that people find valuable now will not be valuable. I genuinely believe that in the next 3 years, the world is going to change faster than it changed in the last 20 years because of artificial intelligence. So the goal is not to predict where the world is going. I don't think that that's the wise way. The goal is to teach yourself, I've said it here, what to learn and how to learn. So you are watching it as it's changing. And the moment you can figure out, I think this is where it's going. What do I need to learn to be relevant there? You know what? I'll leave this in my notes because there's no way. Let me tell you another story. In maybe the late 1800s or even the 1700s in the US, there was something called the gold rush, right? And the gold rush was basically they would discover that there's gold in a mountain. Right? And everybody will move there with pickaxes and all of that, and they'll start mining for gold. And people struck gold and became very wealthy, right? But who were the people that you think made the most money or that made the most consistent money in that gold rush, it wasn't the people going to dig for gold. It was the people making the pickaxes. Do you understand what I just said? The people making the shovels. Because if you buy the shovel to go and dig, maybe 1 out of 100 of you will make money. But if you're making shovels, you are certain that 100 people need shovels. It's not as glamorous, it's not as awe-inspiring, but it is definitely profitable. The next group of people that, interestingly, I found out that made some money were the people who used to wash the clothes of those who went to mine. Because when they finished washing the clothes, the flecks of gold that they found, you know, when you put gold in water, after a while you shake it out. So if you wash 300 clothes, by the time you shake out what is left, right? So when you see the world, you need to start thinking at that level to say, where is it going and what do I need to... Everybody may be talking about digging gold, but maybe what you need to be learning is how to make a shovel. Are we following? Then, I'll finish my time, Abi. Okay. Let me just see if there is anything that is so important that I need to say. I'll skip all of that. So I'll just say one thing, right? The most important skill that you can have, which is summarized in my what to learn and how to learn. How to learn is obviously when you identify what you want to learn. You need to learn by practice. The fastest, most efficient way for you to learn a skill set. Let me use myself as an example. If I want to pick up a new skill today, me as Soromfe, I go on YouTube, I search for the longest videos that cover that skill set end to end. So when I wanted to learn French and pass my exam, that's what I did. I found an 8-hour video on French. I sat down and I watched it end to end. I made notes. I did it maybe once, twice, or thrice, and I was good. That's how I learn. It may not be how you learn, but you need to find out how do I learn. So that once you identify the skill, you're plugging that skill into your own learning methodology. For some of you, you need to go to a class. That's how you learn. Some of you, somebody needs to say it to you. That's how you learn. So the moment you identify that this is the skill that I'm looking for, you connect it to how you learn, and you're good. Are we all together? So you need to be very, 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 very flexible. I know the first speaker said that. This is how I am. This is what I know. You will be very poor. Very, very poor. Poverty will come upon you like a vagabond, as the Bible says. Right? Let me give you an example as I round up. Somebody can say to me now, these people's tech world, I don't know. I'm an interior decorator. What I know how to do is interior decoration. But you realize that you have to reduce yourself. I've even skipped something. Anyway, you have to reduce yourself to your fundamental skill set. What am I really good at? Am I really good at talking to people? Am I really good at convincing people? Am I really good? You need to find out. Like for me, when they ask me, Soromfe, what are you really good at? I am a picture painter. What does that mean? If you're confused about anything in life, and you come to me and say, Soromfe, I'm thinking about this thing, but I'm confused. I don't know. I thought about it from here. I thought about it. I'm thinking of that. I don't know what to do. No matter how difficult it is, you give me between 30 minutes and 24 hours, I will come back to you with a concrete plan as to what you need to do. That's my skill set. That skill set is what helped me with the social media story I told you. That skill set is what I took into consulting to advise businesses. That skill set was what I took into telco marketing to advise a telco on marketing. That skill set was what I took into Microsoft to do the work the 3 jobs I have done within Microsoft. But fundamentally, my skill set is an ability to see ambiguous situations and create structure within those ambiguous situations. So for that interior decorator that is saying, all I know how to do is interior decoration, the fundamental skill set that an interior decorator has is the ability to see spatially, so to see a space and imagine in that space, and to be creative. That's the fundamental skill set. That skill set is the skill set required in virtual reality. Are we together? It's the same skill set required in virtual reality or augmented reality. It's the same skill set required in the metaverse. It's exactly the same skill set. The person does not need any additional impartation. It's the same skill set. So you need to find what you're really good at fundamentally, and then
be flexible enough to translate it into the industries and the spaces that you see the world going to. Are we fine? I will now stop at this point as I have borrowed more than 4 minutes. Thank you very much.
I don't know if we are preserving that clap for something else. Okay, so I'll be bringing up yet another speaker. I'll read his profile. Wale is a marketing and communications CEO, vice president, digital innovator, and football enthusiast. As a marketing expert, Wale is the founder and current vice president of Cerebral Media Africa, a marketing and communication agency, and 7 Steps, a content and technology company in Africa with over 25 years experience in the industry. He has amassed vast knowledge and insight in marketing and communication. I'll be skipping a lot of things because of time. In 2020, Wale founded Lille FC, a local football club. In its 3 years of incorporation, Lille FC has been able to export over $5 billion of Nigerian footballing skills abroad. As a graduate of microbiology, his passion for data analysis and research led him to start a career as the data and research analyst at Leo Linters, the first advertising agency in Nigeria. Since then, Wale's passion has been driven by data-driven marketing. Wale has worked with notable brands, which includes ExxonMobil, Microsoft Nigeria, First Bank, any big firm in Nigeria and overseas that you know of. And for those of us that are aware of the Unilever Nigeria Lifeball brand, Wale led the Guinness Book of World Record events for the largest number of children washing their hands at the same time for the Global Hand Washing Day. And I'm sure he would like you to know that he also serves as the lead pastor of the Covenant Nation Igomu campus.
Okay, thank you. All right, so let me, sorry for this is for me. Thank you. I thought you were giving me a gift. All right, let me go. I'm going to, because we have 15 minutes, so I'm going to take a stab at what Soronfe did and not take too much time and just go through my slides and just, go through that. Now, let me advance or progress the thoughts that he has put in. So there are so many things about development of skills, and I don't want us to be very basic about this entire conversation and start saying we're picking up skills and stuff. So what had happened, for instance, when I'm jumping right in, right? When, for instance, I started out with building an organization where we had development, where we're doing software, for instance, I would typically go to places and then tell organizations about software development, all right? We're the first people to implement solutions where people can make payments in Nigeria via portals, all right, for schools. And I was in school at the time when that was done. We moved to Unilag, Yaba Tech, DLI, HRDB, what's it called now, University of Ibadan and all of that. The cheese moved, and the cheese will continue to move. The potential, which is, I think, so I'm going to basically just advance the thoughts on what it is that everybody has said, and then just wrap it all up with certain thoughts as well. It's important that, and so when he was reading this conversation about, what's it called now, what we've done, so, and I was saying, we've got filling stations by reason of, so when people say things like, I'm a serial entrepreneur, it's not a badge of honor that you're a serial entrepreneur. What that means is that you're basically just moving with the cheese, so to speak. When you see organizations like, what's it called now, Glow, which is Glow, everybody knows Glow, right? They are in telecoms, what they then do is that because they also have filling stations as well, that filling station provide fuel for the base that holds all the tower and all of that, which is what they call backward integration. So at every point in time, you understand where your bread is being buttered in general. And where you are at right now is to begin to chart the path to your success. And say, for instance, when you ask people on the average, how much investment do you have? Do you have an investment plan? So all the salaries that you're getting, now I'm going over the top in this entire conversation, because there is skill. There is also advancing the course of what it is that you're doing currently, which means that some of you are going to be 50 years old, 60 years old, and all of that. And pension is not the way. So if you don't understand that now, then you are going to be setting yourself up. Go and ask, some of you have parents who you are still funding till date, but they were on pension scheme back then. So what happened to it? So moving with the cheese basically tells you that you are currently planning ahead of time to see not just the trend. And one of the most powerful tool or the most powerful person that every one of us have here, which has been democratized, is the Holy Spirit, that tells you on how to basically align yourself for what's going to happen in the future. So if you have the Holy Spirit, you have information at your beck and call, then what then do you begin to do with those things? Because that's where we are at right now. So the entire conversation of our lives is hinged on how do I begin to plan into the future and what do I need to begin to position myself? Let me take an example with Low Linters. Low Linters is an advertising agency and all they do is eyeballs. So they say, we've created an ad and it's on Third Mainland Bridge. You can see it. We've created an ad, everybody can see it. But I realized that most people, they weren't conversions. Everybody who does any business understands the concept of returns on investment. So if you do an ad, for instance, you must be demanding from people returns on investment. So when we came in, it was saturated. So we came in with a unique proposition saying that we're not about eyeballs, we're about conversion, which is where the digital comes in. So for instance, I saw this ad, for instance, does the ad make me buy this food? Right? And so businesses moved from, and that's why we started that. I was making a joke with Bosse, right? When we were up there, and I said, one of the first things we did back then, years ago, with Supreme Ice Cream, was to begin to do stuff under the crown, under the lead of the, to do, so you can text people, and we're using the normal phone. We programmed the phone into a computer, so when you text, it was holding, so it was almost like a mini server. There was no, in fact, the entire telcos have not started all the conversation on value-added services and stuff. So we started all of those things. Now, let's begin to bring it home to you, where you are right now. Have you thought about it? Now, this is not Aspire to Maguire. This is a conversation to say to yourself that right now, the means to where you want to get to is your salary, which is the base. That salary that you are holding on to, how do you begin to invest that thing? I'm not talking about MMM. And I'm not talking betting, where you are saying to yourself that when palm 6 from 5, straight win, and all of those things. This is a conversation that transcends this thing. So when you begin to get your salary, and the highest form of investment, Matthew 25, speaks to that as well. So I'm not going to deal this because I have 15 minutes. When you read, you see when Jesus said he gave one 5, he gave one 4, and he gave one, how many? 1. And that one went to keep it. That's keeping, which means that buried it. Jesus said that at least you should have put it in the bank, which means the least form of investment is the banking system, irrespective of whatever it is. The bank can never give you more profit than they themselves are having. So the best form of investment you can have is in yourself. And this is not in skill. This is in you projecting into the future to say to yourself, how do I, for instance, begin to multiply this salary that I have? Because it's not going to run forever. And that's what we talk about moving with the cheese. So for instance, at Cerebrate, we started out this entire conversation about, we're running an organization, high balls and all of that, monies are coming in, you run. So in the organization, we do what we call profit and loss. for every business that comes into the organization, we do a profit and loss. So every person from the accounts to the account manager and client services, they understand that before anybody approves, the chief operating officer approves your business case, there must be profit and loss. This is the same conversation that affected most of the tech bros. When they get funding, they go and buy cars, do all those behavior. They realized now all of them have been drafted into accelerator program, first of all, to understand the psyche of what business is. So when you're making money right now in whatever thing that you're doing, there is a bigger goal. This is what you pray for, that the eyes of your understanding be opened up. When that thing is there, it doesn't happen immediately, but you are keeping that money to understand that this is eventually where I'm getting into. Like he said, don't get scared. And I told the guys at the office, I said, see, can you now see what I'm talking about? If all you were doing is writing copy, all copywriters might lose their job very soon. Because it's a threat. Because you can't write much more better copy than a ChatGPT right now. And they will produce it in 2 seconds. So you are saying, I'm the best copywriter. Give me 24 hours. Okay, they've done it in 2 seconds. And so there's so many other things, plans and all of that. Those things are embedded in it. So how do I, for instance, begin to organize myself to produce on a larger scale? Please let me know. Just sign to me. How many minutes? Sir, my time is up. Thank you very much. God bless you. We understand that we have to keep behaving properly. Or let me just share this thing, right? So at Lille FC, for instance, after we started this entire conversation, so you see people, for instance, who want to go abroad, for instance, to play football. Nigeria is probably one of the least sets, and the same thing is happening in the doctorate space. So you see doctors, for instance, they train for cheap here. Now, everybody plays football everywhere. If you take one child who is 17, 16, 15, and we put them in a camp where they don't smoke, they don't drink, and they don't do any of those exercises and stuff, all they think about is football. We organize a tournament. We bring people from abroad with our own money to scouts. Come and see them. This is not football age. You can see these guys and all of those things. And then they are set they have the opportunity first time to travel abroad and play and all of those things. Now, the entire thing is that the way the trend is moving is that people are going to gravitate towards where it's cheaper. You can sell them for 50,000 euros, 10,000 euros, I mean, those kind of things, only, so that when they eventually blow, like Victor Osimhen, for instance, still gets the parent club of Victor Osimhen still gets money from every sale that, when he moves to the next place. So what I'm trying to say is this: chart your course, think about the future. Be flexible, not just about this is who I am. There are opportunities. As trees are moving, you begin to move into those places, and then your eyes of understanding is open up to see more other things. God bless you. I hope I've been able to add value.
Let's gather our questions. We're going into the panel session right now, where we'll be discussing with our speakers, and we'll be asking them few extra questions, maybe from what they've said or what we prepared, maybe our expectations while coming. So please, let's maybe pen it down. I'm sure we all have these notes. My own notes is full. I don't know about you, but let's pen down our questions and we'll ask the panelists.
Okay, so I think at this point, I would like to invite our speakers off stage. Clap for them. Okay, it's a privilege doing this. I'm sure Christy would be joining us. So just like our team, moving with the cheese, as they were speaking, we had prepared some questions and sent to them. But as they were speaking, nobody told us to start looking at those questions again. So I know we have about 45 minutes to do this. So, our honorable timekeeper, please ensure that we are on track. So we'll be asking some questions to start. I know you have questions, right? Would come to you as well. So please get ready. Would come to you for your questions. Interestingly, we had over 200 plus questions coming when we were preparing for this event, and we've done our best. So in case we are not able to answer your question today the way you sent it, forgive us. But I'm sure you've gotten something already. Without wasting time, I'll go to the first question. I'll be directing it at Soromfe, right? This morning, I was speaking with a friend, and it was about, so this was what he said. I needed to build a website. I went online, and I just searched, found this AI, put in what I needed, and in 2 minutes, I had a website. The AI even gave me products, told me how to sell it, and all. Sadiq, you are no more chopping my money again, right? And that is just one thing. The in thing at the moment, as I would like to call it, Chat GPT, not GPT, right, is there as well. So I think the conversation is no more that the world of work has changed or is changing, right? I would like to lead with what you said when you were speaking, so that you can, like they say, throw more light into it. So what will be the pointers that someone will realistically look at and say, in my organization or in the world, the cheese has really moved, and I need to move with it? That is the first one, right? And the second one that I would like you to also touch on is what you said about learning what to learn and how to learn, right? Especially when you were giving the illustration of subsidy and all. Truthfully, I've not sat down to plan. So how does one begin to have that mindset of what to learn, how to learn? Where do they start from? I think that is the key question.
Okay, so pointers as to when the cheese is moving and how you change your mindset. So the first thing is, the first question is very simple. It's simple because fortunately or unfortunately, well, fortunately, let's just stay with fortunately, the cheese is moving now, right? So I'm not telling you theoretically about cheese can possibly move. Now, globally, the cheese is moving, right? There are 3 or 4 things that are happening at the same time that you need to know. One is the advancement in research around artificial intelligence, right? ChatGPT or GPT is the equivalent of a Triumph phone. How many of us remember Triumph or Sagem? So this ChatGPT that everybody's shouting about, in terms of the scale of what is coming, is like shouting about a Triumph phone, right? The difference is that it has taken us 20 years or so to go from a Triumph phone to a Samsung Ultra. To go from ChatGPT today to what I suspect is coming will probably take 3 years. So the change is going to be drastic, it's going to be major, and it's going to affect everything we do. It's going to be pervasive, right? So you don't need pointers. I'm already telling you that it's happening, right? So this is not about telling you how to know if and when it is happening. It's happening. Now, what to learn, which is your second question. We can't all be technology people, right? Fundamentally, there are certain things that differentiate us as human beings. Creativity, innovation, intuition, right? These types of things. Now, I gave an example that I can give, and he gave an example about copywriting. You can give an artificial intelligence tool, whichever one it is, it doesn't have to be ChatGPT, an assignment, and it comes back to you with a result, right? You all heard that. Now, the question I'll ask you is that if you give two of us an assignment to develop copy for Covenant Christians or the Covenant Nation, and you give him ChatGPT and you give me ChatGPT, will the results be the same? No. So there is still a difference. Technology will enhance, technology will accelerate, technology will multiply, but it will enhance, multiply, and accelerate what is given to it. At the end of the day, somebody must give it something. Are you following? So the skill set you should be pursuing is the nexus or the intersection of your industry, right? And what is relevant in your industry, plus these new advancements in technology that are coming. Now, everything I have said to you is just one dimension. The second dimension, we were talking about it before we came. The second dimension is geopolitical. So the world is swinging from west to east. Whether you think it has fully swung or it is in the process of swinging, it is moving. So whereas for the last, I don't know, since World War II, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Europe have been the dominant superpowers globally. That is very likely not going to be the case in the next 10 to 20 to 30 years. Right? And if that is happening, there will be implications. There will be a lot of implications. A lot of people who are packing their bags to go to the UK, for instance, I am hoping that they have had that consideration, that the lofty heights that the society that they are moving to had may not be what it will be going forward. Past performance is not a predictor of future outcomes. Exactly. So that's the second dimension. The third dimension is that labor has gone global. So the fact that labor has gone global, when we say that in Nigeria, we think a certain way. I'm going to tell you the other way that we're not thinking. So labor has gone global in the sense that now you can sit in Nigeria and work for a company in New York, which we all celebrate and clap for, right? What you don't consider is that somebody can sit in Sudan or Burkina Faso and work for a company in Nigeria. So we're always looking at in the direction that benefits us, and we're not considering what happens when GTB can hire a customer service person from Sierra Leone or Gambia, and when you actually find out that that person is 10 times cheaper than you. So there are two dimensions to remote working. There's remote working that we are facing outside, and there's remote working that somebody somewhere else in Africa is willing to do your job for half the price. What then happens to you? So when you talk about pointers and things happening and, how do we, these things are all happening at the same time today, which has not always been the case. You need to be considering those things, thinking about them, and figuring out what type of life you would be able to create given that context. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, just a quick 10-second point. Just a quick 10-second point. It is easier to get insights from God and the Holy Spirit when you are aware of what is going on. It's easier for God to tell you, instead of going to the US, go to China, because you are aware that there is a US and China. It's easier for God to have that conversation with you than for somebody who doesn't even know anything. He first of all needs to teach you what US is, teach you what China is, teach you the relationship before he can now even give you the insight. So you understand what I'm saying? So it's easier to go to God in prayer when you have some knowledge about what you're praying about than when you just come and you're a bit empty-handed about it. Sorry, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the insights. It makes a lot more sense for people to know what to look out for and how to look for what they're looking for. Right? My question will be to Abosede. Right? As a veteran in the HR space, you deal with humans every day. We also know there's attrition, big attrition. People are leaving every day. It's affecting businesses, it's affecting quality of work and productivity even within the organization, right? But you mentioned something about how if the receptionist in your company knows how to sell your products, you'd rather employ such person, move the person up, than maybe bring someone in, right? My question will be, So for guys who are looking out at, oh, okay, I want to learn the tech part because everybody's saying tech. I want to learn the tech part. What would be your advice to these people, right? What should they focus on, right? I'm currently employed with you or in an organization, but should I run into a frenzy and say I'm starting to look for the tech part of my work, or let me transition into software development and be a tech bro, tech sis? Or, products, what should they sell? What should they look for?
I think the best way to answer the question would be start from where you are. I know Mayfest is around the corner and the theme is about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. It's typically easier to start from where you are. I mentioned that in my speech. So you're in HR, for example. You want to go into tech. Every organization in every department has an interface with tech. He mentioned it just now. So where is that interface for you? For example, you're in HR. Most of our performance management systems have moved from Excel. They are now on apps. So do you want to develop a performance management app or an app that pays salaries and sends pay slips? There are so many ways in what you're already doing that you can interface with tech. And one of the last things he said also is it's easier to see insights when you're not empty-headed, when you have thought about it, when you know the process. So yes, you want to go into technology, but technology for what? What are you doing currently? Are you in supply chain and you're looking for a way to automate getting trucks to your site? So there's tech in everything. So what sort of tech do you want to do? Now going to the attrition topic. People are leaving, but good people are sort of staying where they are. A lot of people are moving. We know that. And a lot of your good people are also being recruited abroad. But most organizations will go the extra mile to keep their very good people. So you concentrate on being a good person that I'll go head over heels to retain you. So forget about people leaving. People will leave. Soldier goes, soldier comes. The barrack remains for the most part. So your focus should be on being such a good soldier that if you tell me you're leaving today, it's either I follow you or I offer you my salary too. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, please, a quick follow-up question to that. What skill sets has changed in the past maybe 2 years or 6 months?
So it depends on your industry. It keeps changing, like we already said. But I think the way to go about it is stay relevant in what is going on. Like we've mentioned now, if you're a copywriter, there's now ChatGPT. What else can you add to what you already know? Skills will always come and go. The same way, I don't know, something was in vogue and then it faded away and there's something else. Things will always change. So the skill is not really what it is. But as a HR person, I'll tell you that what I look for in potential candidates is people who have the staying power. Candidates these days, they're flaky. You want to do something, you're moving on to the next, into the next, into the next thing. I want people who have stayed through. And it's not by length of time. People who see things through to the end. So the end of the project or whatever can be 1 year, it can be 6 months. But when you are in an interview and I ask you, what have you done in this space? You can tell me a concrete story of how you started, the challenges you faced, and how you saw it through. So it's not really about length of time, but these days, the skills I am looking for in a potential employee is stability, durability. You're able to weather the storms with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I know a couple of people would be frowning at that particular skill, stay in power. But we'll come back to that. We'll come to Pastor Wale, right? And so in this event, we actually have a mix. We have entrepreneurs. We also have entrepreneurs, right? And I think for you, you run a business as well as you own a business. And this question is twofold because it actually came in twofold. There are people who are currently entrepreneurs and are looking at starting their business, right? With how things are changing, how do they navigate that transition? And for the entrepreneurs as well, you said something about how you changed how your organization, Cerebral, operates, right? So how do they begin to, again, move with what is going on globally and be able to position their business in such a way that they stay relevant So two ways. For the first one, the entrepreneurs looking to move into business, what are things they need to start doing, right, to ensure that they have that smooth transition, if at all it's smooth. And then for the entrepreneurs, how do they begin to ensure that they are building a truly sustainable organization?
All right. So let me start out with I'm going to just try and answer the entire thing. So here it is. One of the pitfalls that most people fall into is that they go into businesses because they want to make money. They go into businesses because they want to make money. Let me give you an example, and I think I learned this in a hard way. Usually people say to you, find an opportunity or find a problem to solve and all of that, which is true. But I think for spirit-led people, I think it's important that you are looking at the people that you want to you want to help, not businesses now. Because every time you start a business, you're catering for people's families. So I'm talking about as an entrepreneur, which means that you own a business, all right? When you think about the people who are working with you or for you, I prefer with you, you see them as a family. And primarily, you would, and again, because of my role as, not just as a role, but I think as a lifestyle, the reason why Jacob prospered in Laban's house was because he was catering for people. You'll recall that the moment he said, let me go so that I can do what? Provide for my family. Every time you think about businesses in context of families, the likelihood of you prospering is high. So, as an entrepreneur, I really don't focus. So, let me give you an example. We pay twice a month, right? 15th and the 30th. And for the last 8 years, we have never failed on the 15th because you would wake up and then you see your alert on your phones and stuff. When the accountant came to me and then he says, so we had an issue once, which was, I think Zenith Bank had an issue or something, and they weren't crediting people's money. And the guy said to me, the accountant said, you know what, it's just one day now. I said, never in your life say that it's just one day. There is a reason for those things. So when you think about families, that you're catering for family. Now, this goes beyond money making. You will make money, but if you begin to think in the context of that, not only will ideas flow to you, the concept of multiplication will flow to you. There are different ideas. You can do different things, all right? Well, I mean, people have spoken about the flexibility and all of that. But as an entrepreneur, the moment you begin to think about helping people, you will succeed. And this is not a gimmick, because God will test your heart to see whether really you want to help people or you really want to booger. There are two different things. As an entrepreneur, the concept of you having to, and I think she made mention of that, how does the thing run? How does the organization run? Because a lot of people sit down today, they really like the title CEO and founder. But they don't understand that as a CEO and founder, generator and diesel has to run. All right? You have to pay other things aside from salaries that everybody knows. The tax FIRS and LRS are coming after you. You have to pay pension. You have to pay health. There are several other things. There's somebody else's birthday who is a client that is not on the P&L that you have to support. There are other things that are beyond the glamorous founder and CEO. So as an entrepreneur, understanding the intricacies of how profit and loss is being done is important, and it is extremely important. If you don't understand those things, begin to listen out for those things. Now, what that gives you is that, so you can be in an organization thinking that you're making money for the organization, but you have no clue what your percentage, your contribution to that money that is being made is. Until you find out, you won't understand the appreciation. So if you are transiting from that to this, from entrepreneur to an entrepreneur, if you don't understand those things, you will actually might lose your life in the process. So when we started out, I mean, when I was working at Verdant Hill, which is an agency, we were doing 500 million with 500,000 people, but I wasn't privy to diesel. I just show up and then sit in my seat because they've cleaned it. Everything is fine. Show up and all of you do not understand the dynamics of those things, those intricacies, what other people are doing on your behalf. So before you transit into being an entrepreneur, understand the hand-to-hand of it, that you are responsible for somebody else's life. So some of you probably haven't had a successful girlfriend. And that's when you say, what women like is money. The problem is that you have not even been successful in a girlfriend. You cannot even start a business. And that's the truth. And so sometimes, because a lot of people are consumed with that concept of it because it is glamorous, it's nice, and all of that. But beyond all of these things, when you begin to cross the I's and dot the T's, some entrepreneurs have not earned a dime since they started the business. They are finding it very difficult to break even. So when you understand those intricacies, you will know that it goes beyond, being that. Once you understand, this is it. I want to be not just a blessing to people's lives. You are responsible. Every time you employ someone into your organization, families are dependent on those people. If you fail to pay salaries for one day, it has a ripple effect. There is an Yaba, that they buy plantain from, that knows that is their customer. Oga, you didn't buy plantain today. That is impacting on that. It has a lot of ripple effect. I hope I've been able to answer that question because I don't know.
Well, very well. Thank you so much, sir. I mean, what I would pick out from what you said is, as an entrepreneur, be a problem solver and have passion for people, right? And as an entrepreneur, be an innovator. Right. So I hope we're learning as much as I am learning. We would like to take questions from the audience now. If you have a question, I don't know, do we have it written down or would like to raise our hands?
So if you have it written down, you can give to the ushers. We'll take it from up here. If you want the mic to come to you, okay, there's a hand here. How many people? If you have a question, and you want to take the mic, I have just one person. Okay. 2, there's a second there.
Thank you very much for this
Your
opportunity.
name, please, and what you do.
My name is Destiny Enahulu. I'm a nurse. I'm working at 68 Army Reference Hospital. So I'm really happy to be here because I'm this kind of person. I'm terrible at business. I don't know if it's just something, I don't know. But my first question is, do you have to borrow money to start up something? Because I know for you to identify a problem, there is this passion that wants you to push. You just want to fight, look for all means to ensure that you do this thing. If capitals are not coming the way, or funds are not coming the way you want it to come, do you have to borrow money to ensure you do this thing? That's the first one. Nowadays, I notice it's like passion is no longer the only thing that business or entrepreneur needs right now. I'm telling you the truth. Because now, you made a very strong point, Mr. Wale. Having people you fight for, that is one motivation. That's one passion I've seen. So I think it is not just about having the passion to make bags, to do this. Why are you doing it? So now, is it only passion? Because now I just see that in the market, passion is not just the only thing. Are there other things to really make business grow? So my first question and second question, I guess.
Okay, so I guess this is me.
Yes.
Yeah? All right. So the first one being that, it's in twofold. There is a school of thought that you have to borrow money at some point. My personal school of thought is this, and this is what I tell anyone who is bringing any idea to me. If you don't have skin in the game, you have no idea. If your idea is fresh and you haven't seen your money inside, I'm not putting money. And I'm not saying you just have one money that you put. Let it be like, when Jesus was saying, it says there's a particular scripture that speaks about that we haven't, that you haven't lost blood in the process of, sin and those kind of things. If I haven't seen your skin in the game, which means that you have lost sleep, you haven't lost anything. So for you to borrow money, you have to be the scapegoat, first of all, which is that all your savings has gone into it. And the thing is showing signs of life. Because your passion is going to come by reason of, I know that this thing is going to work. So when you sit in front of someone who you want to borrow money from, what they are looking at is not the amount of money you want to borrow. They are looking at your body language to see if you have stake in the thing. If you don't have stake in it, nobody's going to listen to you. That's one. The second dimension is this. I personally do not believe in borrowing money. All right? And this is it. From the scriptures, it says that I would lend to nations and I will not borrow. Now, it's a different school of thought for some people. And let me tell you something, because before you say maybe, and some people say, oh, at a certain scale, you have to borrow money. There was a particular deal that we had that we got of over ₦1 billion to fund. I had already changed my mind, said maybe this scripture is not working. But I had confessed it too much that it was almost impossible for me to reverse, because the truth about the matter is that we found a way around the entire thing. So I said to the business guys, I'll keep using my money. Wherever the thing stops, you pay me the money back. It was a good deal. All right? Because at the time when we're going to borrow the money, they asked me for my house documents, and then they said they're going to withhold it. I said, so what happens if this thing goes? They said they collect the house. I said, no, I'm not doing that. That's not part of the deal. All right? So going forward, and I've done multiples of those type of businesses, that then showed that I really don't need to borrow money to do those things. But first of all, you've got to show that skin in the game. The second one, which is passion. Passion is never enough. To be honest, my passion is to be in Bahamas right now. I'm passionate about it, to be in Bahamas, lounging and all of that. But for the purpose God has called you to do, for you to be passionate about it, you must be passionate about something else. So people like to make bags, and then they get emotionally entangled with it. Anybody who is passionate about their business lose every sense of reasoning. When information is even coming and constructive, it's almost like when a man is in love, a new mumu is born. So when people are passionate about their businesses, what you see is that every instruction that is coming to them to say, change this thing, don't deliver late. To say, no, we like to do quality control to the point of death. No problem. What you will see is that you will see one person just buying the thing. And that one is even empathy. So that you don't die. Just let's collect the bag. So passion is not enough. Intelligence is required. Knowledge is important. Constructive feedback is important. Understand also the place of the Spirit in building a business, because they will tell you those things that if you don't, for instance, some people will tell you turnaround time. Like in our business, for instance, people will write copies for on hand 24 hours, 48 hours, even before they respond to brief. When we came into the game, we changed the entire thing. That within one day, you will get your brief back, you get a response back. So we are passionate about the entire thing, but the passion is moving us closer to those things. Imagine somebody says, I'm passionate, all right, about your healthcare. It will take 72 hours to do this surgery. Another person says, we can do this. That's robotics. Let me end with this. One of my friends in London, he does this gastro bypass surgery. He's a professional in the gastro bypass surgery in London. And then they staple your intestine so that you don't eat so much and all of that. It allows you to lose weight. Then he goes to me and says he has resigned. I said, what happened? He said, there is now a medicine that they sell for $50, about 50 pills, that when you take it, it tricks your brain that you've had enough. The job is done. So he's passionate about medicine. He went to school to go and do that, and that's his specialty. Now there is a medicine that now comes. The man is doing agile now. So passion is not enough.
Question. In line with what we've been saying, moving with the cheese, what should have been his position?
So the thing is that they had told them, even in the medical field, because they were now in London, robots actually perform surgery, right? And then they have one supervising person who just looks around and all of that. He saw that long ago. So the truth about the matter is there's another field of medicine that is opening up for more new things that are coming in. So what he's now doing now, he should have done it 5 years, 10 years ago. So they were telling them to do project management, for instance. So you can project manage all those pills that are coming in. There are other things. So you don't need to spend hours doing gastro bypass anymore when there is actually a solution less intrusive and also even more efficient. So what they should have done is that long ago, all right, it should have actually started those type of thing and get into the field of pharmaceutical. But medical people see pharmacists as lower. But they are the ones winning now.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There are lots of things I have written down. First was, you pay 15th and 30th. Are you hiring? Yeah, we are here, right? I can do any job. And apologies to the single people who have been collecting shots all day.
I'm sorry, it wasn't intentional.
There was a hand there, or has your question been answered? Okay. Please, one question. Don't give multiple. We have plenty here.
Good afternoon. My name is Adeshola. I'm into content management and creation. I have a question for Mr. Uzoma. If you have an idea and you want to submit an unsolicited business proposal, but you do not have an insider in the company, how do you go about it?
So you have an idea and you want to submit an unsolicited business proposal. Okay, so I'll answer it in two ways. We're in church, so because we're in church, all things are possible to them that believe. So we will not say it's impossible. There may be pathways, spiritual pathways. So having said that and agreed that that is possible, let's put it to the side. Now, practically speaking, you're not the only person with an idea that has a business proposal, potentially with anointing oil on it, right? So everybody is doing that. My recommendation is sort of what I've talked about here, right? It's either you have an idea that is so groundbreaking, right? And I don't mean groundbreaking by extremely innovative. It's just a different way that you're certain that nobody is really seeing it and you're certain you've tested, right? If you have an idea like that, you need to find an intelligent way to get an insider. You can't just walk into their office and drop it downstairs. To me, that's not... A lot of what people consider I don't even know whether to say this, but a lot of what people consider spiritual sometimes is just laziness, right? It's easier to wake up in the morning, speak in tongues for 3 hours, put anointing oil on a sheet of paper, and go and drop it downstairs at MTN's office, than to actually sit down and say, who is the business leader in Shell or in MTN that should deal with this idea? What's his name? What conferences did he attend in the last 3 or 4 months? What speeches has he given? Where is he likely going to be in the next 1 month? Can I attend that conference? Can I pay to go for that conference? Can I attend the speaking session where he is speaking? Can I stand up and ask him a question at that sitting session? And after asking that question, can I tell the organizer that, please, that question he answered, I have a small extra that I want to ask him again, so that they give me an opportunity to speak to him for 10 minutes, and then I can pitch my idea. So that first one of pray for 5 hours, put anointing oil on top, drop it, and be confessing, it sounds very spiritual, but it's truthfully easier. There is no risk of rejection, no work required, no insight required, no research required, no measurement for whether it happened or not. If it didn't happen, you say God did not want it to happen. If it happens, you say God wanted it to happen. So there is no way to really test if what you're doing. But if you actually sit down and do the research, who is his executive assistant? Is there somebody in his team that went to the same university that I went to? Do we have mutual friends? Is there somebody I can reach out to put in a good word? Like, if you did that work for 7 days, even when you get the deal, you will have something to teach somebody else. That your first strategy of pray, how many people can you teach? How many people can pray like that and go and drop it? How many people will it work for? Do you understand what I mean? But if you actually go through a process of building a network to be able to reach him, of pitching you, obviously, if you're going to speak to him for 5 minutes after that conference, you must learn your 30-second pitch.
You must practice it. You must find somebody. They must tell you, no, this thing you said here is a bit unclear. Sharpen it. You must grow in your skill level. So by the time you are done, tomorrow you want to sell something to the Nigerian government and you're in a meeting and they're like, we have this great idea for the Nigerian government. We don't know what to do. Tell them, chill, don't worry. I'll tell you, I will get it done. Give me the document. And you go and do what you did for MTN in Aso Rock and you get in and they're like, how did you do it? Then you can now sit down and talk about your speaking in tongues and all of that. But that's not to me, that's the way to do it. You have to apply. And this example I gave you of going for conference is just one idea. You need to sit down and come up with like 20 of those ideas on how to get it through the door. Do you understand what I mean? And then where your prayer now comes in, like I said initially, is with these 20 ideas, Father, which one should I apply myself to? That's where you can now say, okay, God directed you to do idea 3, idea 5, idea 7. But not that, you just sit down and you want to be lazy, you don't want to apply yourself. And does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, let me chip in something. One of the other things that we also don't try to do is this. So a lot of people want to get things done, but they don't network even within this same space. You're like 4 people away from whoever it is you want to meet. And that's the truth. Aside from tracking their foot paths in the online space, within this particular space, if you by this after this event, for instance, just have a conversation. Not that you're going about to say, do you know this person? Do you know this person? In conversations, somebody just say, oh, by the way, I did 1, 2, 3 for this person. I did that for that person. That way, you are able to say, oh, by the way, this, like you said, sharpening those thoughts and then looking out for deliberate connections within your existing networks, not something esoteric.
Thank you so much, sir. And I think Pastor Poju also always reiterates all of these things. In as much as we are faith people, we are confessing and all of those things, there are groundwork strategies that needs to be put in place to achieve required results. Thank you.
Okay, we have Bossede. It says, I'm presently an administrator but want to transition to HR. And the ones that are free have no certificate. There is a question here as well for Sorum not started a business. This person is asking because he or she easily recognizes patterns and draws up solutions to this pattern. But there's a question here which, or like we say, ghosted them in this situation. Such burst of opportunity doesn't leave me.
Okay, starting with the question on being an administrator. And when I started off my career in HR, I started off with talent management. There are many different areas. I've taken official leave. Then I learn with the HR department, even understand from them what it entails. Like I mentioned, sometimes people just assume HR is we pay salaries and all. You have difficult conversations you have. Some of you can't even look in more. And sometimes you don't have a valid reason. And you still have to tell them. The easiest way to be sure is start from where you are. Go to your HR department there, things you can do. In regards to the certifications, my first certification I got via an adjunct that I did for 10 months. At the time, I was earning 30,000 naira with my glorious MBA. So I'm sure that this person is not earning 30,000. And I was living in Surulere, working on the island. I found a way to save. Do you understand? So sometimes we want many things, but we're not willing to sacrifice for it. So the prayer part of all this is, God guide me, provide for me. There are sometimes you get to the bus station and somebody pays your fare. Those are the small spiritual parts, but I saved. There are sometimes I drank the gari. So you have to be willing to put in the work. It's not just going to fall into your lap because imagine covenant, there's winners, there's redeem. So we're enough Christians as is praying to God. So do the extra. Do you understand? So yes, those certificates are expensive, but find a way to schedule your payments. CIPM is cheaper, but you have diet. So you pay 5,000 today, you go for the lesson, then you can do the exam in another couple of months. There is a way. Sharon Fair has talked about the strategy. There is a way. Chart a course. Most times people just expect someone to dash you money, then immediately you sit down and go for it. Chart the course. There is a way to do it with whatever you have right now. Thank you.
Okay, so for my own question, but I really love her answer, and I just want to share my personal experience, right? I studied computer engineering, very quickly realized that for the kind of role I wanted, remember I said I'm a picture painter, I needed to be executive strategy, C-suite. I wanted that, right? That I needed something to help me transition, right? It's very difficult to go from tech into business. So I quickly figured out that I needed an MBA. For the kind of jobs I wanted in the types of companies I wanted, you needed a world-class MBA. The cheapest world-class MBA at that time, not necessarily because it was the cheapest, but at that time, a good MBA would cost you $100,000 without coughing. Like, you haven't even started. You just put $100,000 first of all, right? I was earning, when I started that journey, I was earning 180,000 naira, which at the time, maybe let's say about $1,000. So if I worked for 10 years without doing anything, I would still not be able to afford my MBA. Are we together? I have an MBA from probably one of the best business schools in the world today. So there is a way. If you make up your mind, you will do it. Just take it from me and not, as he said, not aspire to Maguire. If you make up your mind and the simple trick is find somebody who did it starting where you are and just follow the pattern. There's always a pattern. So you're earning 50,000 naira. Just find somebody like her or whatever. She has given you her own pattern. And just do exactly what they did. You will get the same results. Now, to answer the question about why I've refused to start my own company. The answer is very simple. We bless God for people like Pastor. Maybe it's because he's a pastor, he decided to be an entrepreneur. But anybody who is, smart. So, the people who do well at entrepreneurship didn't know what they would need to suffer when they entered. Do you understand what I mean? But anybody who stands back and counts the costs will not become an entrepreneur. I can genuinely assure you that if you really step back and look at it properly. So let me give you an example. The person said he's a software engineer. If you dedicate 2 years to learning Python, and you become maybe the top 5 to 10% globally of Python developers in the world, you probably can easily be earning $150,000 to $200,000 a year, even from Nigeria. But again, it's not, I just know how to code. Like you dedicate yourself, like you're spending 5-6 hours every day studying on groups, on GitHub, contributing to your portfolio, showing on. And if you do that for 2 years, you can ask Pastor Wale how long it took him to be at $200,000 per annum. So genuinely, if you ask me personally, the reason that I have not started a business is, one, because based on my calculations, my expectations, my prayer, my whatever, I am not. What will fulfill me in life is not running a business. That's not what will fulfill me. I personally want to get finances sorted so that I can really do the things that I want to enjoy doing, right? I enjoy working in big companies. Like I said, I'm a picture painter. So I am not a runner, and I know I am not a runner. Do you understand what I mean? So I am the person, I can help you design a system that can help you grow. I can help you design a system for a new product. I can help you build a new product. But the person who is going to go and sit in front of an MD's office for 6 hours to get a 15-minute meeting because they need to close a door. I have colleagues in sales who go to the church of the person that they need to sign that deal, and when they're going for offering, they dance behind them. You understand? Me, Soronfe, genuinely from the depth of my heart, I can't do that. I would rather carry blocks, right? So, again, remember when I talked about knowing yourself and understanding what your competence is? I can run a business, but I do not think I can run a business from the ground up. So I can go into a business that is at a certain level and help them clean up, because I did consulting, clean up, dashboards, all of that. But the groundwork of the first day, I better pass my generator, turn it on, pay local government, I personally know that I don't want to do that. That's number one. Number two, which I have hinted at, is if you're thinking about earning power and impact, you may find like he said, if your passion is for people and all of that, there are ways. But you may find that it's actually better for you to work in a large organization. I always joke and I say to people that if people understood what was possible in large organizations, what a lot of people call entrepreneurship in Nigeria is hustling. And hustling is not entrepreneurship, right? They're very, very different things, irrespective of whether you're making money or not. So for me personally, yes, I see patterns. When I see those patterns, I take them back to my company and I contribute to what we're doing globally. That's what I do with it. To go and open up a business because I want to make money or whatever, for me, that is not attractive. So it's not something I'm looking to do. I may. Again, a quick side note. My personal strategy is to make money as an employee and to invest in people like Pastor Wale, who are, but much younger, obviously, right? At the early stages, right? Who are passionate, are willing to go there and have skin in the game, to give them money because they are runners. So I'd rather work, earn my money, and dedicate a percentage of what I earn to investing in those businesses in the hope that one day those businesses grow to be something. And then at that point, I can now say, come and make me deputy chairman, whatever, and I wear my suit and I'll go and give entrepreneurship talks. No, I can even go and give entrepreneurship talks on how to be a good businessman and all of that. But that's not really the way I want to go personally. Thank you.
So let me do a quick chip right into that. One of the things we also need to understand that the office of an entrepreneur is almost like the office of a pastor. It's a calling. It's a calling. And the calling must go beyond making money, and that's where the rigor is. So as much as people like you hear the quip about it's more than passion. It's not just about having this conversation about I like to be a CEO. It is much more than that, because there are people who would insult you in the process of getting the job. Will you say I can't take this no more? I'm not doing it again. There's nothing like that. You put your hand on the plow, you continue to do it. So it's a really deep work that is it's almost like you're nurturing a baby, and again, with the passion or with whatever it is as an entrepreneur, you also know when to exit, where your presence is no longer needed in the company you started. You must know that. Are you able to deal that conversation that we've gotten to the point now that I am not advancing because of this thing, and because you love it so much, you leave? So it's a calling. It's not something that's, and that's why focusing on people is extremely important. Money is a byproduct of being an entrepreneur. All right? What was my question? I hope I've answered it.
I remember your question. The guy who ghosted his future employer.
Right. The way you ghosted, you have to appear. Like a Nollywood ghost. You have to be a Nollywood ghost at this point. Now you've got to do a whole lot more, because now what you're going to do is that they might have moved on from you or probably have a replacement. You have to get their attention by showing them the value. So what value would you be bringing to the next phase of that business? If you show a businessman, they don't keep malice. They cannot afford to keep malice, because what doesn't pay them now will advance the cost of their life. So if you show them in some way that see what you're missing, all right? Like let me not go the relationship with, like an ex. Just show, see what you're missing. You have to show them oh, you guys it took you so. All right. You have to show them that this is exactly why you wanted to hire me in the first place. I have added more skill to what you were trying to get me for. And now I can contribute this much more. And then you have to make yourself available this time around. There's no fronting. All right. So
sorry, quick question to follow up on. I'm not going to follow up with you and your ex question. I'm going to follow up with Uzoma, Ms. Sasorumfe. Right. So as an entrepreneur, right, you're working within an organization and you want to move with the cheese. Is office politics, or should I say networking with the higher tops, right? Is it a trend, or is it something you should actually learn? to, scale up?
So, okay, so this is where I'll answer that question. There was something Pastor said a very long time ago when Covenant was still small and we were here. He used to say that when he started the church, he tried his best to arrange it in such a way that there can't be politics. But that he has learned that once you gather 2 or 3 people. I can't remember one of those messages he preached long ago. This was maybe maybe late 2000s, early. Now, once you gather 2 or 3 people, there'll be politics. If you're in a good organization, they've hired the best, right? So all of you are good. So what's the difference? Right? So there'll be politics. Now, this is my personal position. I'm not preaching it. This is my own personal position. My personal position is that you shouldn't play politics, but you should never, under any circumstance, be ignorant of it. Do you understand what I've said? Yeah. So you shouldn't play politics, right? Because there's a God that sits in heaven and he raises one person and he pulls down the other, right? But nothing should ever happen in your organization that as everybody say, you two say, God forbid. You have to be aware of body language, moves. I've worked in places where I just sit down and I say something, and then 3 months down the line it happens, and somebody is like, they assume that it's because, you're a Christian, you're a prophet. It's not that. It's not any of that. It's just paying attention. Just pay attention. When you go into meetings, pay attention. People don't pay attention in general. Just pay attention. So, to answer your question, I don't believe you should play politics. I think you should be a good person. You should be a nice person. You should relate with everybody. It doesn't make any sense to be adversarial in a workplace. You shouldn't fight with anybody. If you're the sort of person that gets into office squabbles, except the person who runs that organization is naive, there is a limit to which you can rise. Even when they're the ones that sent you to fight. If you are known as a fighter, there is a limit, there is a cap over you, because at certain levels, you don't want fighters. You want people who can work together. So they can use you as the dog to go and clean up Lagos, go and clean up Lagos West, go and clean up Kano. I don't like the way they are running. And you're the dog that goes to clean up. But at a point, when it is time to bring you to the level and promote you to the level where you sit at the table of decision makers, there is no cleanup at that table. So they will pay you more money, they will give you a bonus, they will give you a car, they will give you a house, but they will never give you the position, right? So my position is on office politics, I recommend that you don't play it. Also because it's very difficult to play politics and be productive. They don't go hand in hand. It's very, very difficult. Because oftentimes you will find out that with politics that you can achieve a lot more. You can seemingly achieve a lot more by sucking up to a boss than by delivering on your work. So it works for a short while. In that short while, you lose your ability to deliver on work. And then it stops working. But everybody now knows you as a politician, not as an efficient employee. However, as a Christian, you have to be aware. You must be aware of what is going on. You just have to be aware. If somebody says, do this and send it to that person, you must understand not just the first level, the first order reasoning. You must understand second order, third order, fourth order. That this person that is sending me here, this is what he's saying. This is what he's really trying to do. This is what he doesn't know that others know, that they have allowed him to do what he's doing. So you must be able to think at those multiple levels and position yourself. Somebody said once, again, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but I don't know what this. Okay, I'll say it. Potiphar's wife did not just wake up and like Joseph. Maybe I should just stop there. But Potiphar's wife did not just wake up and like Joseph. What she did to Joseph does not happen in an instant. Well, men and women here, you know. If Joseph had slight homoboy tendencies and slight understanding, he may have invited Okon to go in with him when he wanted to go and clean the house. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So Now, obviously, I don't know God's plan. I'm not going into that. But I'm just saying you need to be aware that Potiphar's wife likes you. And if you know that it is not for her to try and for you to tell everybody my hands were clean, I didn't do anything, congratulate me. It is for it never to happen in the first place. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So you need to be operating at that level of wisdom where the fight does not even happen. You don't even get into the political battle because you saw it ahead and you quietly stepped aside. When others who are better prayer warriors fall into it and they are praying, you can now be encouraging them and supporting them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So we have...
Abosede has something to add.
No, I was just going to quickly add to that with a story Pastor often talks about, that Abel should have noticed that Cain's body language changed before he got killed. So I think a lot of Christians in the workplace are so dove-like, we are just spirit-filled and gentle that you don't notice the little things that are happening around you. So you don't have to get involved in playing the politics, but being aware sometimes tells you to distance yourself from certain people or be in certain settings, those sorts of things.
Thank you. I think this last question, I'll just direct it at Abosede. It's a question that's... It was part of the 200 questions, and somebody has asked, so I'll ask. So the person says, I'm Bukumi, and want to ask, I'm not into tech, and I feel pressured to move into it, because that is the way the world is moving. I'm actually into agriculture, and I believe it's always relevant. Now, that agriculture, I'm going to use it to represent a lot of things. So I want to ask, how can I integrate tech into my business? And is it compulsory to go into tech?
Okay,
Thank you, Bukumi, for asking for us.
Yeah, I also let Shironfe answer that as well. But like I mentioned earlier, there is tech in everything. So you're in agriculture. How can you bring tech into the work you do? Are you connecting farmers with buyers? There's now like the stock exchange for seeds and grains. There's tech in there. So there's tech in so many things. But don't move with the masses just because. The cheese is moving and there are many cheeses moving. So don't just focus on one cheese and get lost in it with everybody else. Find your core, because even if you go into tech and it's not your thing, you will fail at it. Do you understand? Shironfe has mentioned the fact that you go to your core of who you are. If you're a farmer in your core, just add a little more to it and you will succeed. So don't feel pressured to go into whatever it is. Because there was a time that bankers were the in thing, and we know how that ended. So we don't know where tech is going, but find your passion and stick with it. Stay the long run. And if it's at your core, you would always excel by adding just the little things. But do you have anything to add?
Yes, so short answer, no, don't go into tech. That's the short answer. Long answer is there are basic things that human beings need, right? Usually they use Maslow's hierarchy, I think, to be able to paint that picture. Food is food, right? The people that run Amala Sky are not quite, you don't get there and press boards. I'm talking about the one in Ibadan. There's no digital dashboard about picking Ogufe or whatever. And we're all going there, right? So my recommendation is, I don't believe in the idea of integrating tech. Genuinely, I don't believe in it. I believe that your business should solve a problem. If it is solving that problem, and in the process of solving that problem, you discover that there is something specific, not tech, there's nothing like tech. There's something specific, which could be as good as your mobile phone. Something specific that enhances your ability to solve that problem. Then by all means, it will be obvious to you, it will be obvious to your staff, it will be obvious to your suppliers, it will be obvious to your customers why you are doing what you're doing. But if you try to integrate tech for tech's sake, you will fail, because to me, that's a meaningless venture, right? So in general, I even want to say this for everybody here. Technology is amazing. If you have the aptitude, skill set, time, willingness, passion to invest in picking up a specific tech skill, by all means do it. Also because I think most of us, a lot of us have a lot of spare time. So it's not about leaving what you are doing to go and do tech. It's about saying, when I get home in the evening, before I go on Twitter, I will spend 2 hours learning this thing, right? So it's not an opportunity. There's no opportunity cost. It's just, you're just learning something additional you may need one day, right? So do it. But don't approach technology from, a time will never come in the world where everybody is working in tech, right? It will never happen. It will never even happen that most people are working in tech. It will not happen. Because, let me give you an example. If you ask me to place a bet on a tech skill now, or to place a bet on comedy, I'll place my bet on comedy. I would actually place my bet on comedy. Why? Because technology will continue to optimize, get better, need fewer people, right? I heard Elon Musk is running Twitter now with 20% of the employees they had 5 or 6 months ago. And everybody's still using Twitter like as it is. So we'll continue to optimize. But you see, somebody who can stand on a stage and make you laugh, how do you optimize that? Do you understand what I mean? So there will be so many areas. How do you want to optimize making pounded yam? Do you see what I mean? So there will be so many areas. Recognize that the cheese is moving, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we must all be doing exactly the same thing because that cheese is moving. Does that make some sense? Yeah, so that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please, if there's nothing we are taking out of today's meeting, we should take this one thing out. And I think all speakers have touched on it. The cheese is moving. It is moving. But there are a lot of cheeses. Right? So when we hear moving the cheese, all of us think tech, tech, tech. And like he has rightly said, there are other things we can actually also focus on and develop ourselves in. Right? So this beautiful meeting was also recorded and is available on Mixlr and YouTube. So you can always go back to it to catch up on things you have missed. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be rounding up this panel now. But when we are done, so let's allow our speakers exit the hall first. Us, we stay back. We have us conversation. But before they
some
leave,
item 7 also.
Yes. So before they leave, I don't know if they have one parting shot.
Okay, I'll go first. Fail fast, fail forward. Don't be afraid to try. Just start.
Colossians chapter 3, 23 to 24. Colossians chapter 3, 23 to 24. Speaks to the politics, focus on, Pastor has been making mention of inheritance, all right, getting that inheritance. If you really want to get the inheritance from God, walk as though you are working for Christ. If you do that, much more than you can ever imagine will come to your space.
And for me, it's what I've basically said. If you learn what to learn, and if you learn how to learn, you have nothing to be afraid of, no matter what happens. You will always be able to make yourself relevant, no matter what happens.
Thank you. I thought we would clap better than that. Okay, Christy, this cheese, how far?
So please, I don't think you follow me home again.
I have one.
There's another cheese that you have to find. My own
are
cheese.
we referring to the same cheese?
No, we learned that there are plenty cheeses, right?
Are we still referring to the same thing?
We are not referring to the same thing.
Okay, so it's been an exciting time. Personally, I do not want us to leave here, right? Because G is sweet, right? And I was just learning, nodding my head. And something that Bosede said about travel. When you travel, In fact, I don't think you don't need to necessarily travel out of Nigeria. Just leave Lagos.
Or leave mainland to the island.
Leave mainland to the island. You know, a friend once said she saw a certain place on the island and she was like, money day Nigeria. Right? And it's beautiful what we can learn when we just leave that comfort zone, that mainland, that island, that Lagos that I used to. Right? When you go to somewhere like, let me see, Enugu, you see that there is actually free route. You don't have to sit 4 hours in
Sure, I
traffic.
even learned that we have some beautiful places around the north where the water is blue and everything looks so beautiful. We could take time out to don't let your next of kin spend your money. The money you are making, spend it by yourself. Take yourself out once in a while. And like Abosede said, take time out to wallow in self-pity, maybe for a day, take ice cream, go out, travel, whatever. But pick yourself back up. I mean, that's the beauty of life.
In case you're looking for extra next of kin, yeah, we are available.
We are available.
Yeah, we know how to make
rent-free, safe.
Put your money to good use. Just invest in us, right? So I feel we
never
can
regret.
take feedback. If you got something striking, right? Let me say I got something striking. I'm living here with something. No hand.
Take home points, like something that you always remember. If someone that didn't call me ask you, what did you
see a
learn
hand
there?
Do you want to share? Probably somebody that did not have takeaway would have takeaway now. Your name and what you do in case.
My name is Oluwafemi. I'm a lawyer and I work as a compliance officer. One of the things I actually took that I'm going to hold dear to my heart is what the Microsoft guy said about when the cheese is moving. So when the example he gave about the gold rush was that there's a gold rush, but you don't necessarily have to be one of the gold miners. Right. All you need to learn is probably how to make a shovel or do something else that is going to be useful to those mining the gold. So I'm going to take that and just look out for opportunities that, lie around things people are rushing out to do. And I think you should do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Me too, I'm collecting that. I see a hand over there. I saw one there first. Christy, do you want to? There's someone there first. Like they say, first come, first serve.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adeze. I'm a tax consultant. I think that the key thing for me here is when Sorumfe said, are you aware that they are going to take out fuel subsidy? Yes. Are you aware that they want to collapse the exchange rates, whatever? Yes. Are you aware that, world powers are moving? Yes. So what are you doing about it? I mean, that was like an aha moment for me because this is not the first time I'm hearing all those conversations. In fact, I've even been shouting it to people that I know. And the question is, have I really sat down to do like design thinking around it as to what my action? Yes, I have a rough idea of, what am I supposed to do? This one. But actually sitting down to put action plans to work, that really was an aha moment for me.
I agree.
Okay. I have one person here, Christy.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Abigail. I work as an executive. So basically, I help executives become more productive. All right. One key takeaway for me amongst so many things, I think she said fail fast, something like that. Fail forward and don't be afraid to try. So I've had different things that I have pushed for a long time. And I started thinking, okay, maybe I would have tried it then and probably failed early enough and learned from it. So that's something I'll definitely
moving boss.
Okay, one person.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I am Alexandra. Two things for me was the first one is just developing that sagacity for life and living across all dimensions of your existence. Like you can't afford to just be, you sort of have to be keen on just seeing, okay, what's really happening, like across all compartments of your life and just making the decisions that count. Then the second thing for me is when she talked about hiring candidates and the fact that she looks out for a person that has staying power. That was very profound because, and then it was also more profound because she said it wasn't about the length of time. So, and I'm just like, oh, okay, all of those unfinished things that you just do, that spoke to me to actually see things through, and even if it fails, see things through and move on. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We have someone here.
Okay, I registered. My name is Idofia. I am registered something used in church for about cheese. How for the Nigeria education of the minister something like so you cannot have like oppression of the destiny because like oppression of something like college job, how to do, how to like plan your job, your future. I think like something how happen to like something how.
Thank you so much. I think he's saying we should all plan in our various jobs. We should have planning strategies as well.
Okay, so if you've had a good time, just say yes.
Yes.
If you've had a great time, give me a louder yes.
Yes.
Some people did not say anything. You know I'm wearing glass, so I see clearly. I can point to you, so I'm going to do it again. You had a good time, say yes.
Yes. Should I put a point? I saw.
Yeah, I can point too. After all the cheese that has been served. Anyways, so if you've had a good time, please take pictures, right? It's part of showing yourself. Take pictures, post on your media, on your media, your WhatsApp, as they call it. WhatsApp, leave it.
I identify as Gen Z, and we call it WhatsApp.
You identify as Gen Z.
Yes.
I identify as the richest man in the. I identify as old school. Old school have money. How many Gen Z have money?
You will fund my project. You will fund my project.
I'll fund your project. Yes, now investor. Exactly. Is Dangote Gen Z? When Gen Z is like Dangote, they can come. Let's speak. Anyway, so please take pictures. Take with the backdrop. Don't take alone. Take with your friend. Use the hashtag when you are posting. Moving with the cheese. Hashtag TCN Yaba. And tag us, especially on Instagram. Yes, for Instagrammers. You can put it on your story. You can tag to your story. I know some of you, your timeline, your feed is very precious to you, right? You don't want, so you can put it on your story. Tag TCN Yaba is also part of for members of the household. Each one bring 2. All the things that you learn, all the cheese that has been hitting you, right? All those nuggets. What do they even call it?
I don't know the English.
Everything you are carrying out from here. All the hair.
Takeaways.
Put it there, takeaways, right? And tag TCN Yaba. Use the hashtag as well, moving with the cheese, right? Who knows if you do it and engagement is plenty. Pastor can see it and tell us, let's do it again. You don't want it? They are silent. They don't want it. They don't want. You want?
Tomorrow is service, right? Please. Rest and abide with us now and forever.
Outside, don't go without taking a picture. Use the hashtag moving with the cheese. Say hello to someone. And my name is Henry. To me, I can do any work. So don't be restricted. I can code. I can code, yes. I said only me, yes.